The stars had never seen anything like this before. In the deep space around the Kepler Nebula, hundreds of alien ships floated in perfect formation. Each vessel was massive, gleaming with advanced technology that could destroy entire worlds. The ships belonged to over 200 different species from across the galaxy, all gathered for one historic moment. Admiral Zethkar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. His red skin gleamed under the ship's lights, and his four arms moved across control panels with practiced ease. The Vorthak Empire had ruled much of the galaxy for centuries through pure military might. Their plasma cannons could melt through any armor, and their energy shields had never been broken by enemy fire. The Admiral looked out at the massive gathering of ships. Today, all these different alien races would sign the Cosmic Accord. This treaty would decide who controlled which parts of space for the next 1,000 years. Trade routes would be established, borders would be set, and most importantly, everyone would acknowledge Vorthak's superiority. Near the Vorthak fleet, the Crystalline, ships of the Zerathi sparkled like diamonds in space. These beings were masters of quantum technology, able to bend reality itself to their will. Their leader, science curator Velthan, communicated through pulses of light that danced across his crystal body. The Zerathi believed they were the most intelligent species in the galaxy, though they respected Vorthak military power. The aquatic Mirans floated in their water-filled ships nearby. They controlled the galaxy's most valuable mineral deposits and had grown rich, selling rare elements to other species. Their ships looked like giant bubbles filled with blue-green water, and their fish-like bodies swam gracefully inside. The Mirans cared little for politics, but understood that peace meant better profits. Most disturbing to other species were the Krillian hive ships. These insectoid creatures shared a collective mind that made them brilliant strategists. Queen Ixisith commanded millions of Krillian workers with a single thought. Their black ships moved like living creatures, constantly shifting and adapting their formation. Even the mighty Vorthaks were careful around the Krillians. Admiral Zethkar smiled as he watched the ceremony preparations. Every species here believed they were superior to the others in some way. The Zerathi thought they were smarter. The Mirans thought they were richer, and the Krillians thought they were more organized. But when battles needed to be fought, they all looked to the Vorthak Empire for protection. The treaty signing was going perfectly. Representatives from each species had gathered in the massive conference chamber aboard the Eternal Dominion. The room was filled with the sounds of hundreds of different languages being translated by universal computers. Some aliens breathed oxygen like the Vorthaks, while others required special atmosphere suits or floating tanks. Everything changed when the long-range sensors began to scream warnings. A duty officer on the Eternal Dominion's bridge quickly analyzed the readings and turned pale. Something was approaching the gathering at incredible speed. The computer systems couldn't identify what type of ship it was or which species it belonged. 2. Admiral, the officer called out, his voice shaking slightly. We have an unknown contact approaching from the outer edge of the system. It's moving faster than our sensors show as possible. Admiral Zethkar's eyes narrowed as he studied the sensor readings. The approaching ship didn't match any design in the galactic database. Its energy signature was completely unknown, and somehow it was traveling at speeds that should have torn any normal vessel apart. How long until it arrives? The Admiral asked. Approximately 1 standard hour, sir. Should we prepare the fleet for possible combat? The Admiral considered this carefully. First contact with a new species was always dangerous, but it could also be profitable. If these newcomers had advanced technology, The Vorthak Empire would want to acquire it. If they were weak, they would make good subjects for conquest. Alert all ships to prepare for potential first contact protocols, Admiral Zeth Kar commanded. But keep weapons ready. We don't know if these aliens come in peace or war. Throughout the gathered fleets, alien crews scrambled to prepare for the unknown. Plasma cannons were charged, energy shields were activated, and sensor arrays focused on the approaching vessel. Some species were excited by the possibility of meeting a new civilization, while others worried about potential threats to their carefully planned treaty. Far away, on the edge of the solar system, the approaching ship continued its journey toward the alien gathering. The vessel was sleek, but somehow looked primitive compared to the advanced alien designs. Its hull was made of simple metals, like steel and titanium, materials that most galactic civilizations had stopped using millions of years ago. On the bridge of this ship, Captain Ben Carter studied the massive alien fleet through his viewing screens. The human officer was tall and lean, with graying hair that showed his years of military experience. His brown eyes remained calm as he watched hundreds of alien warships preparing for his arrival. Communications, any response to our friendship. Signals? Carter asked his crew. Lieutenant Amy Phillips, a young woman with short blonde hair, shook her head as she worked at her station. Nothing yet, Captain. Their universal translators seem to be having trouble with our languages. I'm trying different approaches to establish basic communication. Science officer, what can you tell me about those ships? Carter turned to Dr. Sam Torres, a bearded man in his 40s who served as the ship's expert on alien technology. The energy readings are incredible, Captain, Torres replied, studying his instruments carefully. Some of those vessels are putting out more power than entire Earth cities. Their weapons could probably destroy our ship with a single shot. Captain, Carter nodded thoughtfully. The United Nations Space Command had spent decades preparing for this moment. Humanity had been listening to alien radio signals for years, learning about the galaxy beyond Earth. Finally, human scientists had developed faster-than-light travel, making this historic first contact mission possible. The human ship, designated UNS Defiant, carried the hopes and dreams of all humanity. Earth's leaders had chosen their best crew for this mission, knowing that first impressions would determine humanity's place in the galactic community. The ship was equipped with humanity's most advanced technology, though it looked primitive, compared to alien designs. Dr. Grant, are your cultural exchange files ready? Carter asked the ship's xenoanthropologist. Dr. Lisa Grant, a woman in her 30s with dark hair and intelligent eyes, nodded confidently. All prepared, Captain. We have basic information about human history, culture, and technology ready for translation. I've tried to emphasize our peaceful intentions while showing that we're not completely helpless. As the Defiant approached, the alien gathering, both humans and aliens prepared for a meeting that would change the galaxy forever. Neither side could predict how this first contact would unfold, but everyone sensed that something historic was about to happen. The cosmic wanderers who had dominated space for millions of years were about to meet a young species from a small, blue planet called Earth. In just a few hours, the balance of power in the galaxy would shift in ways that no one could imagine. Captain Carter looked out at the star field ahead, knowing that humanity was about to take its first steps into a much larger universe. The moment had finally arrived. The unknown ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the alien gathering, and every sensor in the fleet immediately focused on the newcomer. Admiral Zeth Kar studied the vessel through his viewing screens, trying to understand what he was seeing. The ship was smaller than most Vorthak cruisers, but something about it felt different. Its hull was made of primitive materials that galactic civilizations had abandoned long ago. Yet it had traveled, faster than ships with quantum drives. The Admiral couldn't understand how such basic technology could achieve such advanced results. "Open communication channels," Admiral Zethkar commanded. "Use standard first contact protocols." Across the gathered fleets, universal translators worked frantically to establish communication with the unknown vessel. The computers analyzed radio signals, energy patterns, and mathematical sequences sent by the newcomers. After several minutes of complex calculations, basic communication was finally established. "Unknown vessel, this is Admiral Zethkar of the Vorthak Empire." The Admiral's voice boomed across space. "You have entered sovereign galactic space during an official treaty ceremony. Identify yourself and state your intentions immediately." On the bridge of the UNS Defiant, Captain Ben Carter listened to the translation and smiled slightly. The alien sounded exactly as aggressive as Earth's scientists had predicted based on intercepted communications. He nodded to his communications officer. "Lieutenant Phillips, send our prepared first contact message," Carter ordered. Amy Phillips activated the ship's transmitters and began broadcasting humanity's introduction to the galaxy. Her voice was calm and professional as she spoke words that had been carefully chosen by Earth's best diplomats and scientists. "Greetings to all gathered. Species. We are humans from the planet Earth, located in what you call Sector 7 Alpha. We come in peace, seeking friendship and knowledge. Our ship is the UNS Defiant, representing the United Nations Space Command. We have observed your civilizations from afar and hope to join the galactic community as equals." The response from the alien fleets was immediate confusion. Science curator Velthan of the Zarathi flickered with rapid light pulses as he accessed his species' vast databases. Sector 7 Alpha had been surveyed by Zarathi exploration ships over 3,000 years ago and declared completely lifeless. Impossible. Velthan's translated thoughts reached the other species. "Our surveys found no signs of intelligent life in that sector. Perhaps these beings are confused about their origin." Queen Ixisith of the Krillians shared her hive mind's analysis with the gathered species. "The ship's construction materials are primitive beyond belief, steel, titanium, and basic composites that we abandoned in our prehistoric period. Yet, their propulsion readings suggest technology far beyond our current capabilities." Admiral Zethkar felt his first stirrings of unease. In his long military career, he had encountered dozens of new species, and they usually fell into predictable categories. Primitive species had weak technology and were easily conquered. Advanced species had powerful technology and required careful negotiation. These humans seemed to combine primitive construction with impossible capabilities. "Human vessel, submit to our scanning procedures immediately," the Admiral commanded. As the dominant military power in this galaxy, the Vorthak Empire requires inspection of all unknown technology for security purposes. Captain Carter listened to the translation and shook his head slightly. Earth's intelligence services had analyzed years of alien communications and warned him about Vorthak arrogance. The Admiral's demand was exactly what they had expected from a species used to ruling through military might. "Dr. Torres, begin our cultural exchange protocols," Carter ordered. "Let's show them who we really are." Dr. Sam Torres activated the ship's cultural database and began transmitting carefully selected information about human civilization. The data included basic facts about Earth's history, human biology, and social development. The aliens received information about a species that had achieved spaceflight only a few hundred years ago. The response from the alien fleets was a mixture of amusement and dismissal. Most galactic species measured their civilizations in millions of years, and the humans seemed like children playing with advanced toys they didn't understand. Fascinating, science curator Vestan observed. They claim to have developed faster-than-light travel in less than 500 years. Most species require at least 50,000 years to achieve such capabilities. However, as Dr. Lisa Grant began sharing more detailed information about human culture, the alien amusement began to turn to concern. She transmitted records of human wars, showing how the species had developed increasingly sophisticated methods of fighting each other over thousands of years. The aliens learned about human conflicts that had shaped their development. They saw records of wars fought with primitive weapons that gradually evolved into conflicts involving nuclear weapons and advanced military technology. What disturbed the aliens most was how quickly humans had learned to fight and how creative they were in developing new ways to win battles. Their military history is unprecedented, Queen Ixisith shared through her hive mind. Most species fight occasional territorial disputes, but these humans seem to have been in almost constant conflict throughout their entire development. They have more experience with warfare than species 10 times their age. The Mirren trade delegate, floating in his water-filled chamber, studied the human economic data with growing interest. Despite their short history, humans had developed complex trade systems and resource management techniques that impressed even the galaxy's most successful merchants. Admiral Zethkar reviewed the human military records and felt his confidence begin to waver. The humans had fought wars using strategy and tactics that seemed impossibly complex. They had developed military doctrines that balanced overwhelming force with precise control, something the Vorthak Empire had never needed to master. Human vessel. Admiral Zethkar's voice carried a harder edge now. Your species will submit to standard galactic protocols. This includes surrendering your ship for detailed inspection and accepting status as a developing species under Vorthak. Protection. These are not requests. Captain Carter exchanged glances with his senior officers. They had hoped for a peaceful first contact, but Earth's military planners had prepared for this possibility. The human crew remained calm as they followed their extensive training for first contact scenarios. Admiral Zethkar, Captain Carter replied formally, "We appreciate your offer of protection, but humanity seeks equal partnership in the galactic community. We have no desire to be protected or controlled by any other species. We hope we can find a way to work together as allies instead." The response sent shockwaves through the alien gathering. No new species had ever refused Vorthak protection, and certainly none had suggested they deserved equal status with established galactic powers. The Admiral's red skin darkened with anger as he realized these primitive humans were openly defying his authority. "Your response is unacceptable," Admiral Zethkar growled. "The Vorthak Empire maintains galactic order through military strength. Species that refuse our protection are considered potential threats to galactic peace and stability. Throughout the alien fleets, crews prepared for what seemed inevitable. The humans had made a critical mistake by challenging Vorthak authority, and now they would learn why the Empire had dominated the galaxy for so long." Captain Carter watched the alien, ships beginning to move into attack formations, and sighed quietly. Humanity had hoped for peace, but they had also prepared for war. The tension in space became thick enough to cut with a knife. Admiral Zethkar stood on his bridge, his four arms moving across control panels as he prepared his fleet for what he believed would be a simple demonstration of Vorthak power. 5. Humans had made a fatal error by refusing his protection, and now they would learn the consequences of defying the galaxy's dominant military force. Battle Group Alpha, move to surround the human vessel, the Admiral commanded. Charge all plasma, cannon arrays, and activate maximum defensive shields. These primitives need to understand their place in the galactic order. 60 massive Vorthak warships began moving into attack formation around the lone human vessel. Each ship was 3 times larger than the UNS Defiant and bristled with weapons that could reduce planets to molten slag. Their energy shields glowed, with power that could deflect the most advanced weapons known to galactic civilization. Throughout the gathered alien fleets, observers watched with intense interest. Most expected to see the upstart humans quickly subdued, which would serve as a useful reminder of Vorthak military superiority. Some species felt sympathy for the humans, but none were willing to interfere with Vorthak justice. Science curator Velthun of the Zarathi focused his crystalline sensors on the human ship, hoping to record whatever advanced technology had allowed such a primitive vessel to achieve faster-than-light travel. The Zarathi were always eager to study new scientific principles, even if they came from species about to be destroyed. Curious, Velthun observed to his fellow Zarathi. The human ship shows no increase in energy output despite being surrounded by a Vorthak battle group. Either they are incredibly confident or completely ignorant of their situation. Queen, Ixisith shared her hive mind's tactical analysis with the other species. The humans are outnumbered 60 to 1 and face weapons with 1,000 times their ship's apparent firepower. Logic suggests immediate surrender, yet they continue broadcasting diplomatic messages. On the bridge of the UNS Defiant, Captain Ben Carter watched the alien ships moving into position with calm, professional interest. His crew remained at their stations, following years of training for exactly this type of situation. Earth's military planners had studied alien tactics for decades and prepared extensively for first contact scenarios that might turn hostile. "Tactical report, Mr. Walsh," Carter requested from his weapons officer. Lieutenant Chris Walsh, a young man with steady hands and sharp eyes, studied his instruments carefully. 60 enemy vessels in standard encirclement formation, Captain. They're using basic tactical patterns that we've seen in their intercepted communications. Plasma-based energy weapons, estimated shield strength within predicted parameters. Engineering. Status, Mrs. Santos. Carter turned to his chief engineer. Maria Santos, a competent woman in her 30s, checked her control panels and nodded confidently. "Fusion reactors operating at optimal efficiency, Captain. Defensive systems are ready and all primary systems are functioning normally. We're ready for whatever these aliens can throw at us." Captain Carter appreciated his crew's calm professionalism. Every officer aboard the Defiant had been carefully selected for this mission, and their training was about to be put to the ultimate test. Earth's scientists had spent years analyzing alien technology and developing countermeasures, but this would be the first real test of human engineering against galactic military power. "Dr. Grant, any chance of resolving this peacefully?" Carter asked his xenoanthropologist. Dr. Lisa Grant shook her head sadly as she monitored alien communications. "I'm afraid not, Captain. The Vorthak culture is built around military dominance and the submission of weaker species. They literally cannot comprehend the idea of a new species refusing their protection. To them, our independence is a direct challenge to their entire worldview." Admiral Zethkar's voice boomed across the communication channels, translated into dozens of alien languages for the benefit of all observers. "Human vessel, this is your final warning. Surrender immediately and submit to Vorthak authority, or face the consequences of your defiance. Captain Carter took a deep breath and activated his ship's transmitters one last time. Admiral Zethkar, humanity has no desire for conflict with your people or any other species. However, we will not surrender our freedom or submit to foreign control. We are prepared to defend ourselves if necessary, but we still hope for a peaceful resolution. The alien observers throughout the gathered fleets murmured among themselves at the human captain's calm response. Most species would be panic-stricken when faced with a Vorthak battle group, yet this human showed no fear at all. Some aliens began to wonder if there was more to these newcomers than met the eye. Admiral Zethkar felt his anger reach the breaking point. Throughout his military career, he had never encountered a species that refused to acknowledge Vorthak superiority. These humans were either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid, and he was about to find out which. "All ships, prepare to fire warning shots," the Admiral commanded. "Target their propulsion systems. We'll disable their ship and take them prisoner for proper education about galactic realities." The Vorthak weapons officers across 60 warships trained their plasma cannons on the human vessel. Energy readings spiked as massive weapons charged to firing capacity. The gathered alien observers prepared to witness what they assumed would be a one-sided demonstration of military power. "Human vessel, you have 10 seconds to surrender," Admiral Zethkar announced. "After that, we will disable your ship and take you into custody for violation of galactic law." On the Defiance Bridge, Captain Carter looked around at his crew one final time. These men and women represented the best of humanity, and they were about to show the galaxy what Earth's children were truly capable of. "All stations, prepare for combat," Carter ordered quietly. "Remember your training and follow standard defensive protocols. Let's show these aliens that humanity didn't crawl out of the caves just to surrender to the first bully we meet." Lieutenant Walsh's hands moved over his weapons controls with practiced precision. "Defensive systems online, Captain. All weapons ready, awaiting your orders." The countdown reached 0, and Admiral Zethkar gave the order that would change galactic history forever. "All ships, fire!" 60 plasma cannons erupted simultaneously, sending streams of superheated energy racing toward the lone human vessel. The alien observers watched in fascination, expecting to see the primitive ship instantly vaporized by the concentrated firepower of a Vorthak battle group. Instead, they witnessed something that would be talked about in galactic councils for generations to come. The massive plasma barrage struck the human ship and simply disappeared, absorbed by defensive systems that the aliens hadn't even detected. For the first time in Vorthak military history, their weapons had failed to damage an enemy target. The silence that followed was broken only by the confused voices of alien observers trying to understand what they had just witnessed. Captain Carter smiled slightly as he looked at his undamaged ship's status displays. "Mr. Walsh, I believe it's our turn." The silence that followed the failed Vorthak attack was deafening. Across the gathered alien fleets, millions of beings stared at their sensor readings in complete disbelief. The most powerful military force in the galaxy had just fired a full battle group salvo at a single ship, and the target remained completely undamaged. Admiral Zethkar stood frozen on his bridge, his red skin pale with shock. In over 2 centuries of military service, he had never seen Vorthak plasma cannons fail to destroy their target. The energy readings from his weapons had been perfect, the targeting systems had been accurate, and yet the human ship floated in space without a single scratch on its primitive hull? "Impossible," the Admiral whispered, then shouted to his crew. Sensor analysis. What happened to our plasma barrage? The Vorthak sensor officer worked frantically at his station, reviewing the attack data over and over. Admiral, our weapons struck the target directly, but the energy was somehow absorbed by defensive barriers we cannot detect. Their ship shows no damage and no decrease in operational capability. Science curator Velthan of the Zerathi flickered with rapid light pulses as he analyzed the impossible data. His crystalline mind processed information faster than most organic brains, but even he struggled to understand what had just occurred. The human defensive systems operate on principles unknown to galactic science, Velthan transmitted to the other observers. They appear to be using some form of energy absorption technology that converts incoming plasma into harmless radiation. The physics involved should be impossible according to our current understanding. On the bridge of the UNS Defiant, Captain Ben Carter remained calm as he studied the results of the alien attack. Earth's defensive technology had performed exactly as designed, absorbing the plasma energy through fusion-powered barrier systems that operated on principles human scientists had developed through decades of theoretical research. "Damage report, Ms. Santos," Carter requested from his chief engineer. Maria Santos checked her instruments and smiled slightly. "No damage whatsoever, Captain. The fusion barriers absorbed the entire attack without even stressing our reactor. Systems. The aliens' weapons are powerful, but they're using very predictable energy patterns that our defenses were specifically designed to counter." Lieutenant Chris Walsh, the ship's weapons officer, looked up from his tactical display with professional interest. "Captain, the alien attack patterns are exactly what we expected based on our intelligence analysis. Their weapons are powerful, but lack the sophisticated targeting systems that would be needed to penetrate our defenses." Captain Carter nodded thoughtfully. Earth's scientists had spent decades analyzing intercepted alien communications, learning about galactic military technology and developing countermeasures. The Vorthak Empire's reputation for military dominance was based on overwhelming firepower rather than tactical sophistication. "Dr. Grant, any chance they'll accept a peaceful resolution now?" Carter asked his xenoanthropologist. Dr. Lisa Grant monitored alien communications and shook her head sadly. "I'm afraid not, Captain. The Vorthak military culture cannot accept the concept of failure. Admiral Zethkar's personal honor and the Empire's reputation are now at stake. They'll continue attacking until either we're destroyed or they are." Admiral Zethkar's voice boomed across the communication channels, filled with rage and disbelief. "All ships! Maximum power to weapon systems! Concentrate all fire on the human vessel! Whatever technology they're using, it cannot withstand the combined firepower of the entire battle group." The Vorthak warships began charging their weapons for a second attack, this time pouring maximum power into their plasma cannon arrays. Energy readings spiked to dangerous levels as the aliens prepared to unleash enough firepower to crack the surface of a small moon. Captain Carter watched the enemy preparations and sighed quietly. He had hoped that demonstrating humanity's defensive capabilities would convince the aliens to seek a peaceful solution. Instead, they were escalating the conflict exactly as Earth's military analysts had predicted. "Mr. Walsh, authorization to return fire," Carter said formally. "Standard defensive protocols. Disable enemy vessels with minimum casualties." Lieutenant Walsh's hands moved across his weapons controls with practiced precision. "Aye, Captain. Railgun systems charging. Targeting enemy propulsion and weapons systems for disabling strikes. The human weapons that had been hidden within. The Defiant's hull began to emerge and orient toward their targets. These were not the energy weapons that galactic civilizations favored, but rather electromagnetic railguns that accelerated solid projectiles to incredible velocities, using principles that human engineers had perfected through centuries of warfare. Dr. Sam Torres activated his scientific sensors to record the engagement for later analysis. Fascinating, Captain. The aliens are using brute force energy weapons that rely on overwhelming power rather than precision targeting. Our railgun technology gives us significant advantages in accuracy and penetrating power. The second Vorthak attack began with even greater intensity than the first. 60 warships fired simultaneously, creating a concentrated barrage that would have destroyed any known vessel in the galaxy. The plasma streams converged on the human ship like the wrath of angry gods. Once, again, the attack was absorbed harmlessly by defensive systems that the aliens could neither see nor understand. The Defiant remained completely undamaged, floating peacefully in space as if the massive energy barrage had been nothing more than gentle sunlight. This time, however, the humans responded. Lieutenant Walsh fired a carefully aimed salvo from the ship's railgun batteries, sending solid projectiles racing toward 3 Vorthak warships at a significant fraction of light speed. The alien observers watched in stunned silence as the human weapons struck their targets with devastating precision. The solid projectiles punched through Vorthak energy shields as if they were made of tissue paper, sending massive shock waves through the enemy vessels' hulls. 3 of the galaxy's most advanced warships were disabled in seconds, their crews knocked unconscious by kinetic impacts that their defensive systems had been powerless to stop. The ships tumbled helplessly through space, their weapons systems destroyed and their propulsion units completely offline. Queen Ixisith shared her hive mind's tactical analysis with growing alarm. The human weapons convert mass directly into kinetic energy using electromagnetic acceleration. This bypasses all known defensive technologies. Our shields are designed to deflect energy weapons, not solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. Admiral Zethkar stared at his tactical displays in growing horror. 3 of his finest warships had been neutralized by a single alien salvo, and the human ship still showed no signs of damage or stress. For the first time in his long military career, the Admiral faced an enemy that seemed completely invulnerable. To Vorthak weapons! All ships! Evasive maneuvers! The Admiral commanded. Maintain attack formation, but avoid clustering together. These humans have weapons we don't understand. The remaining Vorthak warships began moving in complex patterns, trying to avoid becoming easy targets for the human railguns. Their commanders had suddenly realized they were facing an enemy unlike anything in their military experience. Captain Carter watched the alien ships scatter and spoke calmly to his crew. "Continue defensive fire, Mr. Walsh. Target weapons and propulsion systems only. Our goal is to end this conflict with minimum casualties." The battle that followed would be studied by military historians for generations. The humans fought with devastating efficiency, but showed remarkable restraint, carefully targeting enemy systems to disable rather than destroy. Each railgun shot was precisely calculated to neutralize threats while preserving alien lives. The gathered alien observers realized they were witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history. These humans fought like nothing the galaxy had ever seen, combining overwhelming technological superiority with ethical constraints that prevented them from simply annihilating their enemies. Within minutes, half the Vorthak battle group was either disabled or retreating in confusion. The most feared military force in the galaxy was being systematically dismantled by a single human ship that most aliens had initially dismissed as primitive. The battle was over. What had begun as Admiral Zethkar's demonstration of Vorthak military superiority had become the most shocking defeat in galactic military history. Half of his battle group floated helplessly in space, their weapons destroyed, and their crews stunned by kinetic impacts they had never imagined possible. The remaining Vorthak warships had pulled back to a safe distance, their commanders finally understanding that they faced an enemy completely beyond their capability to defeat. The mighty Vorthak Empire, which had dominated the galaxy through pure military might, found itself helpless against a single human vessel. Absolute silence filled the communication channels as millions of alien beings struggled to process what they had witnessed. Species that had ruled the galaxy for millions of years suddenly faced the reality that their advanced technology was primitive compared to what these newcomers from Earth had developed. Admiral Zethkar stood on his bridge, his red skin ashen with the weight of total defeat. His 4 arms hung limply at his sides as he stared at the tactical display showing his disabled ships. In 2 centuries of military service, he had never experienced failure on this scale. "Admiral," his communications officer said quietly, "the human ship is sending a message." Captain Ben Carter's calm voice filled the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, translated by computers that still struggled to process human languages properly. "Admiral Zethkar, this is Captain Carter of the UNS Defiant. We offer immediate medical assistance to your damaged vessels. No human wishes to see unnecessary suffering, even among those who attacked us." The offer of mercy toward defeated enemies sent fresh shockwaves through the alien observers. In galactic warfare, victory typically meant either slavery or extermination for the losers. The concept of providing aid to those who had just tried to destroy you was completely foreign to most alien civilizations. Science curator Velthan flickered with rapid light pulses as he tried to understand human psychology. "Remarkable. They possess the capability to destroy the entire Vorthak fleet, yet they offer medical assistance instead. This behavior pattern does not match any known military doctrine in galactic history." Queen Ixisith shared her hive mind's confusion with the other species. "Logic suggests that victorious species eliminate potential future threats. These humans demonstrate tactical superiority, but show no desire to press their advantage. Their behavior is unprecedented." Admiral Zethkar felt something he had never experienced in his long military career: genuine respect for an enemy. The humans had defeated him completely, yet they offered aid rather than demanding surrender. His warrior's instincts told him that these beings were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Human vessel," the Admiral said slowly, his voice heavy with the weight of defeat, "I formally surrender the Vorthak battle group and request permission to discuss terms. Your victory has been complete and honorable." The alien observers throughout the gathered fleets listened in stunned silence as the most feared military commander in the galaxy admitted defeat to a species they had dismissed as primitive just hours earlier. The political implications were staggering. Captain Carter accepted the surrender with the same calm professionalism he had shown throughout the engagement. "Admiral, humanity accepts your surrender and offers immediate assistance to your wounded. We have no desire to humiliate you or your people. Our goal remains peaceful coexistence with all galactic civilizations." Dr. Lisa Grant began coordinating humanitarian aid efforts, working with alien medical teams to provide assistance to damaged Vorthak vessels. Her expertise in xenoanthropology proved invaluable as she helped establish protocols for cross-species medical cooperation. The Cosmic Accord ceremony resumed, but with dramatically altered dynamics. The species that had gathered to sign a treaty establishing territorial boundaries now faced the reality that their entire understanding of galactic power had been shattered in a single afternoon. Representatives from over 200 species unanimously voted to invite humanity not merely to join the galactic community, but to take a leading role in its governance. The logic was simple. Any species with such overwhelming military capability needed to be partners rather than potential enemies. Captain Carter graciously accepted observer status for humanity, explaining that Earth needed time to understand alien cultures before accepting greater responsibility. This response impressed the alien delegates even more, as most species would have immediately seized the opportunity to dominate their former superiors. "We appreciate your confidence in humanity," Carter addressed the assembled delegates, "but we believe that true leadership comes from understanding and cooperation rather than military strength alone. We prefer to earn our place in the galactic community through friendship and mutual respect." Dr. Alex Johnson, the mission's head scientist, began establishing research exchange programs with various alien species. The gathered civilizations were eager to understand human technology, while humanity sought to learn from species that had thrived among the stars for millions of years. The Zerathi offered to share their quantum technology in exchange for insights into human defensive systems. The Mirrans proposed trade agreements that would give humanity access to rare minerals in return for human engineering expertise. Even the Krillians expressed interest in studying human tactical doctrines. Admiral Zethkar requested a private meeting with Captain Carter, and the two military leaders met aboard the Defiant in what would become the first of many diplomatic exchanges. The Vorthak admiral was surprised to find himself treated as an honored guest rather than a defeated enemy. "Captain Carter, Admiral," Zethkar said during their meeting, "I have fought battles across dozens of star systems, but I have never encountered warriors like your people. You possess the power to destroy any enemy, yet you choose to show mercy instead. How is this possible?" Captain Carter smiled slightly as he poured tea for his former enemy. "Admiral, humanity learned long ago that true strength comes not from the ability to destroy, but from the wisdom to choose when destruction is necessary. We have fought many wars among ourselves, and through that experience, we discovered that victory without honor is meaningless." The conversation between the two military leaders laid the foundation for a new understanding between humans and the Vorthak Empire. Admiral Zethkar became humanity's first true alien ally, helping to establish protocols for peaceful coexistence between species with vastly different military philosophies. As the story reached its conclusion, the gathered alien fleets began to disperse, carrying news of humanity's arrival to every corner of the galaxy. The age of conquest and domination that had characterized galactic civilization for millions of years was ending, replaced by an era where the most powerful military force belonged to a species that valued peace above victory. Captain Ben Carter stood on the bridge of the Defiant, looking out at the vast assembly of alien ships that now regarded humanity with a mixture of awe, respect, and hope. He knew that Earth's children had taken their first steps into a larger universe, and the galaxy would never be the same. The cosmic wanderers who had witnessed humanity's arrival understood that they had seen the dawn of a new galactic age. The silence that had followed the human battleship's arrival was not just the quiet of shock, but the profound stillness that comes before fundamental change. Humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy not with words of conquest or demands for submission, but with a demonstration of power tempered by wisdom. The message was clear. Earth's children had come to the stars not as conquerors, but as guardians of a better future for all sentient life.